Hi, and welcome to the LinuxBasix screencast. I'm your host, Qemu, and today what I want to talk about is Qemu. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through a quick little explanation of what Qemu is, and then go right into a quick demonstration on how to get started in Qemu. I find the best place to go for information about a product is straight to the website. So here we go. Right here on the main page gives a great description. It says Qemu is a generic and open source machine emulator and virtualizer. When used as a machine emulator, Qemu can run OSs and programs made for one machine, e.g. an ARM board, on a different machine, e.g. your own PC. By using dynamic translation, it achieves very good performance. When used as a virtualizer, Qemu achieves near native performance by executing the guest code directly on the host CPU. Qemu supports virtualization when executing under the Xen hypervisor or using the KVM kernel module in Linux. When using KVM, Qemu can virtualize x86 server and embedded PowerPC and S390 guests. Basically what this means is that Qemu can be used to run different operating systems on your home PC. So without further ado, let's kind of jump straight into it. Alright, so now that we got our terminal up, the first thing we want to do is we're going to need an ISO image. That's an image of a of an operating system, and as you can see, I've already downloaded a copy of DSL Damn Small Linux, DSL 411 RC2. Let me copy that. And so first thing we want to do is I want to show you how to boot it up as if it was a live CD, which means that we can boot it up and see it, and it'll run a lot faster, but it's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to save any changes you make into anything. So what we're gonna do is do Qemu dash system dash i386 and space dash CD-ROM and then your ISO image. And there you are. Alright, now welcome to Damn Small Linux version 411 RC2, and as you can see, it's a nice little operating system. It's got all sorts of good little programs already installed. Got several different types of editors, several different types of little graphics programs, several different little types of things for the office. Sound, running sound files, net tools. They'll go up. Net tools, IRC, browsers. Anyways, that's it, but that's it as a live CD. So any type of changes I make to this, let's say we go into desktop and I don't know, let's just change the background. Alright. Say I do something like change the background. That looks all nice and pretty, but the next time I load up this ISO, it's going to look exactly the same way as it did beforehand, because it didn't save anything. So, now what we want it to do is we want it to be able to run it, start it up, run it, and be able to use it pretty much the same way it was if it was our native operating system. So now we're going to close this down, and the first thing we're going to do is, once it's done closing down, is create an image file. And that's going to be the file that when we install DSL, it'll install right onto that image file. Alright, so now we have the terminal open back up again, and we want to create the image file that we're going to install the ISO of our operating system onto. So to do that, we're going to type in qemu-img space create space the name that we want to give our image file, which in this case, let's make it simple, so dsl.img, and then the size we want to give it. Let's see, for the sake of this, let's do 2 gigs. So when you do gigs, you got to make sure that it's a capital G. And I typed in ing. And there we go. Alright, so now we can see that we have a image file. What we're going to do is we're going to install this onto our image file. So to do that, we type in the command qemu-system-i386 space -hda space the image file, which is our dsl.img space -cd-rom space the ISO file space -boot space D, and off we run. Alright, now we want to type in install. Go full screen. Alright. Now then, we could type in 2 for install to hard drive. And we would install it onto HDA. No to multi-user. No to ex3 file system. I'll continue yes. And we're going to go anyways. And now it's going to installing it. Alright. Well, this is installing. Let's take a quick moment. Kind of go over some of the commands here that we've been doing. There is some graphical front ends for QEMU, but I personally haven't had much of any sort of real luck with them. I find that this is just very easy and straightforward. If you break it down, you have QEMU, which is a call to the application, and then system, which means with QEMU there's 2 different ways it can run it. It can run it as user, which will let you run just one single program, as opposed to system, which makes you run a whole operating system. And then you specify your CPU architecture, which in this case is an i386, but you can do things like a ARM processor, or there's a whole list of other types of processors that are available, or you have to check to make sure you have installed to be able to use. But the base one is usually your i386. And then -HDA, and as you just saw, HDA kind of stands for the for like a hard drive. in Linux, HDA is usually a hard drive, and then our image file that we're using as a hard drive, and then CD-ROM, and then the ISO file, which boots up like a CD-ROM, and then -boot D, which in QEMU means boot up like you're booting up into a CD-ROM. Alright, so when this is all done, I'm going to go back to I'll show you a couple more things about QEMU. But for now, let's see. Install bootloader, yes. Type. Reboot now, yes. Alright, now let's look for a root password. We're just going to give it something simple like 123, 123. And then a DSL password, so we're going to go 456, 456. Doesn't really matter. Now it's going to ask about my screen. X-Visa, USB, no. Alright, so once again, we're back at DSL. Now, be able to show off that we can make some changes to this and have it stay. What I'm going to do is, let's see, first off, let's change the window manager, because it comes with both the JWM window manager and Fluxbox. So we just switched over to Fluxbox, and now let's change. What else can we change? Let's see. Icons, let's go no icons. And then maybe we'll just do a quick little go backgrounds. Change the background. No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, that's even cooler. Alright, why don't we change that and yeah. Alright, why don't we just change that for right now. And then what we're going to do is shut it down. And then when we restart this back up, they should all still look like this. Alright, now the very last part of our how-to with QEMU is we want to be able to run just the image, boot up just the image file, the thing that we can make changes to and stuff like that. So what we want to do is QEMU dash system dash i386 space dash HDA, boot that up like it's a hard drive, dsl.img. Now I'm just going to boot right up into it. Full screen again. Alright, and here we are. We have DSL all loaded up. No icons up there. I'm running Fluxbox with the nice little green background there. Alright, now anytime I want to install any files or make any changes to the desktop or change the background or anything like that, as long as I just keep on using the same image file, it should all stay like this. Alright, now we can exit out and shut down. And so that's the simple, bare bones, basic on how to use Qemu. Lastly, if you remember from the Qemu website, it talks about in that second paragraph how it can achieve near native performance by executing the guest code directly on the host CPU. So in other words, if your host CPU or the computer that you're trying to run a virtual machine on, if that CPU supports virtualization, you're going to get, then you definitely want to use something like a KVM with it, and that way you can get much better performance. I don't know whether you noticed or not, but I didn't use KVM during all this. That's because my CPU doesn't support virtualization. And the way I found that out was open up the terminal again. What I want to do is type in sudo space cat space dash proc slash CPU info space type space grep and then flag. Now, I'm running an Intel processor, so if somewhere in this list it should say VMX if my processor had supported virtualization. And if I had been running a AMD processor, it would say SVM somewhere in this list. But if you look it over, there's nothing here that says VMX or SVM. And I found on the internet an example of somebody's output that did give that, just so you can see what that looks like. So in this example though, they typed in grep space dash dash color space VMX. In other words, he's just looking for VMX space slash PROC slash CPU info. And then it gives up all those flags from the CPU, and you can see it highlights because he did dash dash color. It highlighted VMX in his output, and you can see it outputs twice because he has a dual core processor. Alright, so if you, this was what it would look like if your processor did allow for virtualization. Now, lastly, I wanted to just kind of jump over to the website. There's a lot of really good information on the qemu.org website. It'll talk about KVM. You can go over to the documentation, and you can kind of scroll down. It'll give you some how-tos on stuff. It'll talk about, if you remember earlier, I said you can run it as either system or user. Jump down to the introduction to that. Yep, and in this first line it talks about that, about how, being able to run it as a full system emulation or running it in user mode. You can read through all of that to learn how to do that. Alright, so that's it for QEMU. Alright, well, if you get a chance, head on over to the LinuxBasix website. We do a podcast there bi-weekly where we go through a lot of the basics of Linux, hence the name LinuxBasix. And we have a lug that we do on the Mumble server every Friday night at 8:30 and Saturday mornings at 10. Right here gives you full instructions on how to download and install Mumble and how to get you started on the connected to the Mumble server. We also have forums where you can go in and post questions and things like that. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm Honky Magoo, and remember, as we learn, so will you. Thank you.